with. I know it's the Super Bowl Sunday. And the Cowboys, oh my beloved Cowboys, are on their annual Super Bowl watching mode. We gotta change this. We do. We gotta change this, Cowboy Nation. Really appreciate each and every last one of you all for tuning in. Shout out to the notification squad. Please, guys, if you're not part of the notification squad, you're missing out. Yup, you're missing out. Salute to everyone that's watching right now on this beautiful day. Without hesitations nor deviations to the matter. Let's go. Yup. Necessary. As we build the spaceship while it's in the air. Basically, that's what we're doing. Cowboy Nation. Let's continue to grind and shine, baby. I miss y'all. Do y'all miss me? Oh, I miss y'all. Come on. Hey. Come on. Lose the sound for the nation without hesitations, right? Shout out to everybody, man. I hope all is well. Y'all still upset? Are y'all still upset? Come on. Mama, there go that man again. Yep. Come on. Still want to give me a hard time. Come on. There we go. Yo. There we go. Yo. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, really appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's been a world of a world. Appreciate you, Andy. Shout out to you, and shout out to you, Joe Tatum. Appreciate you on the Facebook. I really appreciate you. Pablo and Jesus on the Facebook as well. Rudy, I see you on the Facebook. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. The Dallas Cowboys, we are sitting here watching this beautiful day go by, and we can't wait for draft time. But right before draft time is free agent. Right before draft time is free agent. There was an article out there. I'm going straight to the sources here. Shout out to SB Nation. There's an article that was out there, and it was talking about, and it's Blogging the Boys, by the way. Shout out to Blogging the Boys on their website. Article talking about Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton and how their relationship is, basically. And with that being said, of course, we all know how this thing goes. Just because it's versus battle doesn't mean that these guys don't communicate and associate with themselves as it relates to a union, like a friendship. I recall for many of years, Bill Belichick would reach out to Jimmy Johnson to pick his brain during the offseason to figure out what do they need to do better for the Patriots. And he will squeeze all of the resources and the information from Jimmy Johnson to better his team. Well, one can argue that not just Jimmy Johnson and Bill Belichick communicate with each other. Coaches communicate with each other. And in his article, I'm just going to paraphrase it, Sean Payton said that he will reach out to Mike McCarthy just to have a conversation. And I believe that that's necessary because when you're a coach for the National Football League, there's always some type of things that you can learn from, pick up from, how you can get a competitive edge. And I ain't talking about recording people practices, but You guys get what I'm saying. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying, TV. Appreciate you. We need to get Jordan Davis. I like that assessment. You know, it goes all the way back to making sure you better your best. And your best right now is Micah Parsons, right? Can anybody argue against that? Oh, my goodness. Michael Parsons been showing up everything, saying, hey, play with a hyperextended knee. He came out and said that, hey, even if it was a situation and a scenario, for me, hear me out to play on the outside only, I would have the sack record. Yeah, Kenneth Richards said cheaters. Yeah, I think there's a famous saying from Joe Montana, right? He said, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? And I know that's an old saying, but I get it, right? You know, we're about trying to win. And when we watch the Super Bowl today, as spectators, you know, without our hearts and our emotions tied into it, we're going to see that both teams took the opportunity because everybody's granted the same amount of time in the day, right? And they went to shoot for it. They did the risky move on both sides of it, right? Both sides of it. They danced in free agency, right? They relied on their staff to make sure that they get all of the resources in the right places. Our only problem with the Cowboys is this right here, and I'm not shooting any jab at the ownership. I'm not shooting any jab at the general manager, if you want to look at it that way. The only problem is that they run this organization like a mom and pops. Well, Law, what do you mean? There's a lot of feelings involved with contracts. There's a lot of feelings involved with promotions and marketing. It's a lot of feelings. Like when I went back and watched the NFL honors. Now there could have been other owners there, right? But we saw Jerry Jones there as the general manager, as the owner, as the president of operations. He was there, laughing, kiki-keying, having a Johnny good time. But I come here to tell you, and I hope that you guys don't think, that this team don't want to win, right? We know that this team want to win. This ownership want to win. But they want to win it like Frank Sinatra. They want to win it his way. But the beautiful people that's watching right now, I have to tell you guys that if it was any other general manager, hear me out, if it was any other general manager, he would have been in his butt watching TV, film on the prospects that's coming around the corner. He would have been trying to negotiate the salaries, the contracts of the players that's already said here on his team. Now, before somebody yell and say, well, Law, he got people to do that. Well, it goes all the way like this, Cowboy Nation. It sullies and mudders the water when you have someone else doing all of the bidding, right? Doing all of the work. And then you step in and say, I like this person better. I like this marketing situation better. I would like to go see this film and evaluate and cross-examine, but I got to fly to see such and such play in Arkansas is my blah, 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 you know. Or I got to set up this contract deal for Ford, you know. It's one thing after another, and it's lack of concentration on the main topic. Sometimes you can be so focused in on one thing, and you can be horrible at other things. But dog it, by your focus in on just one thing can propel you to be successful. But trying to be a master of all things, it hurts you in the long run. It do. It hurts you in the long run. Just pick one topic. Pick one avenue. Pick one lane. Don't try to wear too many hats. You can get more accomplished by empowering someone else, by putting your hard work and dedication on one side of the spectrum versus trying to focus on too many things. And that's been the Cowboys' memo. Focusing in on too many things. 2 radio appearances a week, multiple situations as it relates to drama, because the more you talk, the more information you leak out, the more you kind of sully your own players. And I get it, right? We can look at our players and say, hey, they have not performed, but everything trickles down from the top. Everything. Shout out to you, Joe. Shout out to you, Jay Lombardi. Appreciate you, Doc Dwight. Appreciate you. Louise, thank you for jumping in on the Facebook. JT Wolf, appreciate you. So when we look at other infrastructures, like when we look at the Rams, their general manager focused on general manager stuff. We look at the Cincinnati, of course, they had same issues, just like the Cowboys. Really nothing different. Mike Brown had his hand, his toe, his foot, his elbow in every piece of the pie. And it's quite strange that the year that Mike Brown had to pull back and pull out, and he empowered his daughter to run that organization, lo and behold, they in the Super Bowl. But there's a lot of people that will listen to this information and say, nah, there's nothing wrong with what Jerry Jones is doing. And matter of fact, you're right. There's nothing wrong with what he's doing. Nothing wrong. Football players got to make plays. But the evaluations and the strong constraints. Put it like this. If I'm a star player and I know I got a big contract, and if Jerry is my boss, and if the coach said something that's out of pocket, I can go straight to Jerry. I can go straight to John Stephen Jones. I can circumvent that thing, and I know that people with kids right now, regardless of their age, they learn that at a small age, that they can sway this seesaw approach easily. Chain of command, yeah. I mean, in certain departments, it's, subordination or what have you. Certain departments, everyone answers to everyone, right? You got to answer to somebody, right? Unless you work for yourself. And even within that, you still answering to the IRS. You're answering to someone. Everybody got to answer to someone. And, ultimate answer, you got to answer to the good Lord all high, right? He who sits high and look low. But neither here nor there. When you start to go around and have a workaround policy and procedures, man, it creates a bevy of issues. D Block said 88, appreciate you, man. He said, yeah. But Law with Jerry is gone. He's going to empower Steven. He's going to be the same-ish, bro. And I'm going to have to say this. He might be worse. He might be worse. No. Oh my gosh, he may be worse than Jerry. Jerry, at least, I like the Maverick Jerry, right? Let's talk about the cons and pros. I like the Maverick version of Jerry. And Jones, John Stephen Jones, I keep saying his full government name. Everybody gonna be looking up like, who's John? And they look it up and say, Law is right. His full name is John. He's more conservative. He's more, I'm gonna keep everything within. I'm gonna hold everything tighter. Right? So it may be worse. right? Because he liked to hold things back. But the good thing about this, Cowboy Nation, is that when Stephen Jones become like the owner, operator, general manager, Tupac and Biggie, you know, when he become all of those titles, you know, the Grand Reaper, you know, the Birther and everything, when he becomes all of those titles, he might meddle less, right? He might meddle less with the coaching. He might not put his hands into the mixing bowl as much, right? And let's not sleep on Charlotte Jones, right? I think that her hand is really into the marketing aspect, and he might put the duties on her to do the marketing, the promotion piece of it. So that could be a situation, but it still ran like a mom and pops. That's why once you're in, you're in. Stephen White says budget-minded, but he listens, and that's a good thing. That's a real good thing, and he might hold these coaches a little bit more accountable. He may not be as how can I put this? He may not be as liberal or as freely luckily to go as a Jerry Wayne Jones. You know, he might lower the axe and the hammer real quickly. Apple don't fall from the tree. This is from Asmodeus. Yeah, the apple. Can we blow that apple? Can we kick that apple a little bit further from that tree? But it is what it is. Sugar Daddy, shout out to you, Stephen White. All right, so appreciate everybody for jumping in, and I really, really do appreciate you guys for being part of this episode. Let me jump over here. This was the article that I got majority of this information from. And as a keepsake, let's do this so that you guys can, and you guys might have already read the article. But Cowboys news, Mike McCarthy could be hearing from Sean Payton soon. And it goes into the details, and I sent the link over there in the description box. Sean Payton says it's a good idea to call the Cowboys Mike McCarthy, you know, aimed at the rumors of about him being a head coach. And I'm paraphrasing. Dallas Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy apparently doesn't have to watch over his shoulders for Sean Payton potentially taking his job. And he goes into more details. What you don't want, Cowboy Nation, is a coach always looking over his shoulder. It can do two things. It can help your team, or it can explode right in your face. Some coaches, hear me out, coach better under pressure, right? And some coaches just don't. Some people just don't perform under pressure. Show of hands in the chat. Show of hands in the chat if you are that person. If you are that person that frowns upon micromanagement. Let me know if you frown upon micromanagement. And some people need it. Some people need at their jobs, depending on what type of level of job that you do or what have you, whether it's entry level or if you're on that advanced stage right now, if you became over the entry level. But in order for you to go over the entry level positioning, some people need structure. Some people need that accountability. Some people be like this at the job, you know, on the phone. You know, some people, you know, need that structure of somebody saying, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable to this. I'm going to hold you accountable to that. Some people need that structure. And then when they become seniors and bosses or what have you in their respective position, they understand that part of it. And they become a little laxer when they're in position of control. And they say, okay, I understand that you guys are going to be on the cell phone. However, you know, you have a little leeway, leniency. That's a better way to put it. It just depends on the situation, right? You know, and it depends on your type of job. You can't be a nurse, a doctor, and say, hey, man, let me update my Twitter right quick. You know, that open heart surgery, it can wait just a few seconds. Let me let me check my Instagram. You know, I need to know what's going on with Kodak. You know, I heard he went to Justin Bieber's pre-Super Bowl party and it was a shootout. Let me see what's going on. Let me update that, information. Some jobs, you need full attention. If you're a daycare center and you're on your phone all day, and little Pookie climbing the monkey bars backwards, you need to get off the phone. So some people need structure. So with Mike McCarthy, with it being Mike McCarthy, as dare I say, a guy that's been having issues with time management, keeping up with certain things as it relates to such of timeouts. Maybe he need to be micro, and that general manager should say, hey, hold on, baby, what you doing? For sure you only had one timeout, Yeah, Greg Barry says, I'm listening to the law while I'm putting it in IV. Right, you better have the Bluetooth on. Appreciate you. Right. So every situation is different, but the thing is, hear me out, and then I'm gonna play some audio. The thing is, the hardest part of this situation is when you have lack of accountability. And we talking about a person that's micromanaging the coach, but nobody micromanaging the general manager. That's the problem, I can't make this stuff up. No. Here's the situation. Here's why I say this. Don't you guys know that if it was any other team with the situation of coaching not performing up to the level that they supposed to, or players not playing through their contract, or you signed the wrong player to the wrong contract, that general manager would be in a hot seat. If a running back is being underutilized, because the general manager is supposed to be the guy, regardless, to go and find said running back, to make sure said running back is performing well. It's supposed to be the general manager that's supposed to, hear me out, Cowboy Nation, stand in between the coaching staff and the owner. And the owner reports to the general manager and say, hey, what the hell is going on with this guy? What is going on with that guy, right? Why is this guy not performing? And then the general manager starts sweating, and he's supposed to, he or she, since we got diversity in the NFL, supposed to go to that coach and say, hey, I'm paying this guy $90 million, and I know that he have a certain issue that's going on, but what's up with Rodney Pete, or Skip Pete, I meant to say, because that's Rodney Pete's brother. Skip, what's going on with Skip Pete? Why he's not putting Pollard in right now? Oh, okay. Well, I could lose my job if this continue to happen. So next few games, we're gonna put on injury reserve, IR, to return, designated to return, right? Right. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. I'm the general manager. You listen to me. We're gonna put him on IR, designated to return. We're gonna insert Pollard, but Pollard came back. I'm not talking to you about that. I hired you to coach him, right? So if you can't figure out that he can't block, I'm just paraphrasing, Cowboy Nation, on how the power structure is supposed to be. Then why am I coaching? Why am I paying you if you can't pay close attention to elevating his certain skill set, right? That's supposed to be the process, right? Coach is supposed to train, teach, and study and elevate. Train, teach, study, and elevate. And the general manager is supposed to put that on him. But we don't have that structure here, right? Paul says, was it Jerry's decision to leave Zeke in? See. Now we're following along, and I'm not shooting the blame only at Jerry, right? Case in point, let's talk about quarterback play. Since I got y'all beautiful people here on this day, there should be a report that Doug Nussmeier come back and say, hey, these are the inefficiencies that my quarterback is going through right now. And these are the things, the area that we need to improve at. He's supposed to report that back to the general manager. That process is not happening. And the general manager is supposed to hold Doug Nussmeier accountable. To say, okay, what are the installments? How can we improve in this particular category? Because the owner is going to lay heavy on me, because if you ever watch general managers that's really managing this thing with their back against the wall, if they don't win a certain amount of games at the end of the year, you would see that owner and news saying that, hey, they're thinking about getting rid of this guy because he's not he don't have his staff performing up to the level. And we're not doing that right now. So that is the problem. And that's why you see a lot of nepotism and cronyism within the Cowboys organization. Because no one is holding certain key spots accountable. And that's the problem. And there's no way we can fix it until you get a real general manager in there. And I get it. A lot of people say, well, what about Willie McClay? He's the general manager, not by title. And for dog sure, not by responsibilities. He can't pick up the phone and tell you, hey, I want this coach up out of there, and I'm bringing in another coach. I want this player up out of there. I'm bringing in another player. He don't have that type of power. And if he do, it's false. It's false if he do have that type of situation. Oh, my gosh. All right, Jerry keeps players in for the jersey sale. That's why he cares. That's what he cares about. This is from SoCal. I think it's something along the lines a little more difficult than that. But let's look into this again, Cowboy Nation. We got I think 24 players as free agents collectively, and that's including the guys that we didn't get a chance to see. And the number one, the highest paid person so far would be Keanu O'Neal. He's at $4 million. And let's go at the lowest paid guy, it's $14,000, and that's to be determined. So Darian Thompson, he's got $14,000 left. Luke Gifford, $14,000. So we got 24 players on this list. And shout out to Spot Rack. Let me send this list over so that you guys can follow along with me. Click that there on your free time and save it as your page favorite. And what we do here, I kind of do this episode every year. I talk about salary caps. I talk about what the Jones family may do. And I talk about a thing called market value. Now, I like Spot Rack because they pretty much give a breakdown of market value. And it's based upon average salary and productions of what you did throughout the course of the year. For example, and it's comparable to a majority of the players that's in the National Football League. So we're going to look at only the players with the market value. Let's start from the bottom and work our way to the top. Schultz market value, and we click this icon here, is $12.6 million. Can you see that on your screen? And like I said, we selected the following players based on their age, their contract status, and statistical production compared to Dalton Schultz. So when you look at his particular market value standing and staring right at you at $12.6 million, you look at Austin Hooper's contract, Hunter Henry contract, Dallas Goedert contract, and Mark Andrews contract. Based upon his age and his level of production, this is where Dalton Schultz is at. Should the Cowboys pay Dalton Schultz? Because a lot of people, we're doing it wrong. If you're doing mock drafts right now, you're too soon. You're too early. If you're seriously doing mock drafts, you're a little too soon. And I'm not selling anybody who's doing mock drafts right about now, because you're trying to get a gauge of what your team is going to pick. But it's putting the cart in front of the horse, because we got to go through free agent before we go to the draft. There will be some free agent pickups, some surprise cuts before the draft that would change the direction of where this team will draft at. Nevertheless, do you pick up $12.6 million contract? That will be a 4-year deal for $50 million. And his tight end status ranking right now out of the National Football League, he's number 5. He's number 5. He's the 5th ranked tight end in the National Football League right now. That contract will stand right there. Pay the man is from Gerard. Appreciate you. He says pay the man. How you guys feel about that? Do you go ahead and pay the man, huh? All right, so the next guy, and he already came out and said, hey, I hope that my time in the sun with the Cowboys, that someone will pay me. I'm paraphrasing because I forgot the quote all the way. Somebody pay me my value, basically. And this guy right here, by the name of Michael Gallup, he's been with the Cowboys for 4 years. And his market value is right at 11.8. And I trust Spot Rock. Because so far, since I've been doing these type of episodes, they've been right on the money. The only person that they had wrong for as far as the contract is Tom Brady, right? And Tom Brady, through his course of careers, always, not sometimes, but always take the player-friendly contract or the team-friendly contract. But it is what it is. Not everybody is fortunate to play in the NFL for 22 seasons. So Schultz low-key is slow. Gallup is $15 million. Schultz run like an old man Witten. Oh, man. Signed Michael Gallup. This is from Cool Mo. Appreciate you. Shout out to you, John Sullivan. Shout out to you, Chad. Thank you on the Facebook. Appreciate you, Patrick Williams. MG can go. Get that bag somewhere else. Love MG. This is from Stephen White. And his contract will be comparable to a 4-year, $47 million contract. And that will put him as the 19th ranked wide receiver. That's probably where he's at, right? And that's right in the wheelhouse of Corey Davis contract, Tyler Boyd contract, Jamison Crowder contract, as well as Cortland Sutton. Appreciate him. Contract. Who I believe he signed the biggest $60 million contract for 4 years. That wasn't bad at all. And then here are the stats. I forgot to do this for Schultz. But they show all of the stats that put him in this wheelhouse. So when I was telling people when it was time to pay Dak Prescott, a lot of people were angry and upset, and I said you can't go out of the market value. The market is going to render what the market is, just like in my community. You know, houses sell at a certain market rate. We would start a riot over here in this community if we let a house go for, let's say, $250,000. It would hurt all of our investments on our property. We wouldn't want a house to go for $250,000 here, because all of the houses are more than $250,000. So that's the same thing with this. You don't want to deflate the market rate. And of course, his agency, Kelvin Robinson from Capital Sports Advisories, don't want to do that as well. They don't want to say, okay, well, my receiver, he was signed a 4-year, $6 million deal. No, annually, APY. No. Because that's going to hurt the next guy that's under his agency. So understanding the market, you want to sell where the market is at, and you want to keep everything open and honest. And thinking, ain't nobody your friend out here, right? Because the moment something happened in your contract, it would hurt the next person's contract. Quandary Diggs, I'll look that up. We'll look that up. Let me go through all of the Cowboy players, and I'll look up that contract, Jay Lombardi. We can't pay full price, unavailable. So he can't do a prove-it deal. He can do a 1-year prove-it, like a 1-year rental deal. But he can't sign a long-term contract. No, he can't. Not at that low rate. All right, so the next person, let's look up Randy Gregory. Cowboy Nation, I really appreciate you guys. What do you guys say, how much Randy Gregory is looking for? Based upon his age, based upon his stat line for your mind, how much y'all think Randy Gregory is rendering? 1 year, $5 million will work. Yeah, Cowboys, JUGA. 1 year for Gallup for $5 million. That's right in wheelhouse. 17, 15, a prove it deal. Randy already got it proved. And oh my God, 3 years, $60 million. Let's just hurry up and jump over here. Let's jump over here right quick. Appreciate y'all for jumping in. All right, so it's $13.2 million for a 3-year contract for pretty much $40 million a year. $40 million, I meant to say. And that's based upon his age. Remember, you got to look into like what other people are paying right now. And you're right, it will be $60 million if you add in, or it'd be close to $50 to $60 million if you add another year to it. But Olivier Vernon, he have a 1-year contract for $11 million. That was the last to fall off the books, I think, for the Cleveland Browns. And he will be on the streets for free. Preston Smith, as far as the level of production, he signed a 4-year, $52 million. And then, of course, Zadarius Smith. Yeah, I know you guys remember him. And I think that these guys, let me see how old Randy is a little longer in the tooth than all of these guys outside of Leonard Floyd. But if you look at this, if you look at their level of production and their stats or what have you, they're pretty much in the same wheelhouse. You know, tackles for loss, hurries per game, stops per game, pressure rating, you know, pretty much the same. And I think Randy, he's up there with Olivier Vernon as far as that pressure rating. So we look at all of these stats here, and it's pretty much this will be a very comparable contract. Are you willing to pay him $13.2 million? Are you guys willing to pay him that amount of money? Big money. I like it. Are you willing to pay him? And they got him listed as an outside linebackers situation here, and because we got 3-4 and 4-3 principles, I think that he is fitting right in at that Leo role there. $13.2 million, nation. Somebody said yes. And that's when you have to figure out the fact, do you let D-Law walk, or do you let him stay? Do you work out something else? Do you go back into the drawing board and say, all right, cool, let's do this? That is still a possibility, Cowboy Nation, but let's not fret. All right, who else is on here? I'm not even going to pull up Connor Williams, but just, who going to pay this much money? And let me show y'all Connor Williams right quick. $13.2 million. I can hear y'all right now saying, no, wait. If the Cowboys, if this is the first contract, report saying that the Dallas Cowboys then signed Connor Williams to a 4-year deal, $52 million. And it appears that out of that $52 million, $25 is guaranteed. How do you guys what would you guys think of, if Connor Williams signed that type of contract to play for the Dallas Cowboys for 4 more years? 4 more years. He was the second-round draft pick in 2018, right? He's only 24 years of age, so he's still got a long way to go, Resign. Oh my gosh. But this is the craziest thing. Is let me see if I can pivot a little bit. Y'all bear with me. You guys bear with me, please. Bear with me. Hail Mary, bear with me. What do you have here now? Oh my gosh, man. Sometimes a different situation and scenario. This by far is Connor Williams' best year. And he allowed 1 sack, right? Hear me out, Cowboy Nation. Let's not look into the grades or what have you, because this is by far his best year, believe it or not. But pressures allowed 13, and I know that that's not an accurate one because it was higher at one point in time of the season. But this is what I really want to look at right here. I know that this one is accurate because we went through this one before. The 15 penalties. My goodness. Now, granted, hear me out, Cowboy Nation. Before we toss this baby out of the window with the bathwater. If he was on maybe another team, instead of it being 15 penalties, could have been 5, right? It could have just been 5 penalties, and you have all of this other good stuff, and he will be viewed upon differently. Or, hear me out, you see how his average grade is like 76.7 in pass and 76.0 in run? At certain parts of the season, his run was averaging out at 80 and 90. Here's the situation. If he goes to another team and they have a pre-planned structure to pull him, because he's athletic, don't get me wrong now. He's athletic, he can get to the second level, and he can move some stuff out of the way. He might blossom. That's why I said the problem with the Cowboys is this right here. You had Connor. Let me see if I can pull up the other Connor. Let me see if I can go pro. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. We go pro football. Okay, Connor McGovern. I know his stuff is going to be, but damn, let me see if I can look at it. Yeah. All right, so if you pull him up, he had 2 penalties, what have you. If the Cowboys decided to insert this guy in the starting rotation anyway, would the Cowboys been better off, hear me out, trying to leverage this thing out and trade bait Connor Williams so that you can at least get something back in return, opposed to nothing, right? Because you're not going to get nothing in return right now outside a compensatory pick. If a team pick him and he performed well, I think the lowest you can get is like a third or maybe a fourth or a fifth compensatory pick for him. But you have to wait until the year 2023 in order to receive that. You see what I'm saying, Cowboy Nation? You have to wait for it, right? And that's the angle that the Cowboys normally do. Connor McGovern couldn't beat out Connor Williams. I appreciate you, Mac. I agree. Connor McGovern is literally not a quote-unquote left guard. He's not. And the Cowboys put him at left guard for some strange reason. And they wanted to keep those penalties down. And McGovern only had 2 penalties opposed to your boy having those, I want to say, 15 penalties, which made him first in the league. And that's knowing that McGovern didn't even play. That's knowing that Connor Williams didn't play every game. Let me go right here. All right, so let me see if I can pull this up. Y'all bear with me. Yep. And we are here. It literally, and I'm not trying to muddy the waters or anything. This was La'el Collins' first year playing in the National Football League, and that was him playing at left guard. Total of 5 penalties, 0 sacks allowed, and it was green across the board. But the thing, and he only allowed 3 hurries, 3 hits, I meant to say, and the 22 pressures allowed, which is a lot of pressures, right? But hear me out. It literally took Connor Williams 4 years, 4 freaking years to have this level of production of what La'el Collins had in his rookie year. I digress on that debate because I'm winning with facts. You can't out-talk facts. That's why my beard grow, and that's why my teeth are white. You can't out-talk the facts. Collins is better at guard than Connor McGovern. I keep on saying McGovern because he is better than Connor McGovern that Connor Williams was, right? You had a guy that was up and coming as it relates to Terrence Steele. All the Cowboys had to do was know that there were other teams out there, hear me out, that needed offensive line. And I know you don't want to get rid of your quote-unquote depths, especially in this C19 world. But if he's going to go anyway, could you grab a few draft picks on his way out? And that's what we call wheeling and dealing. And that's one of our weakest points. I think we draft well. I think we shy away from free agent guys and not overpaying guys anymore, right? But our only problem is we don't know how to wheel and deal. So that's the problem, and that is the situation. Unfortunately for the Dallas Cowboys. But neither here nor there, Cowboy Nation. I hope wherever Connor goes, I hope all is well. And if he decides to stay, then that would be a good situation for the Jones family, because they can continue to pump up. Hey, this is our guy. He's homegrown situation and all that crap. All right. So this is Cedric Wilson, $6.4 million. That's a 3-year contract for $19 million. That would be the most money he ever seen in his life, right? But the Cowboys got to jump on this early, and they got to send him his contract before he tests the market. Because I believe there's teams out there that can see the value in Cedric Wilson, and they can look at the infrastructure and say, okay, we can overpay. We can shoot him $10 million, APY. We have the constraints to get him a 4-year contract opposed to a 3-year contract and offer him more. But where he's at, he's right along with Devontae Parker, Sammy Watkins. Oh, Sammy done dropped off. And he's right along with Kendrick Bourne and Keelan Cole. He's right in that wheelhouse as it relates to their salary suggestions there. And if you look at like his level of production, it's right in the wheelhouse of all of those boys there. And of course, Devontae Parker. And I like Kendrick. He's pretty good. But out of all of these guys, I think that Cedric Wilson would be the better receiver, in my opinion, because he's so versatile. And, of course, if you want to talk about level of consistency with this offense, you might want to keep Cedric Wilson and then go into the drafting world to see if you can find his replacement down the line. Let me know how you guys feel about that. And that was the end of all of contract situation. Let me see. All teams. Somebody said to look up, was it Diggs? He's a let me see if I can pull him up right quick. I don't know if they don't have all of the values as relates to that, but let me see if I can find them for you. Secondary. Let's see if they got Diggs down here. All right, they got his market value. Let's see. Jay Lombardi, you requesting this, right? 3-year, $36 million, 12.1. And that would put him right in the wheelhouse. His level of production is right there with Justin Simmons, Eddie Jackson. Y'all remember Eddie? Jordan Power and Michael Hyde. So, level of production. Michael Hyde is better. No. Ain't nobody on that Justin Simmons level. I would go. I'm looking at everything. He's 29. That's a long tooth. How did that tooth get that long? Right. Let me see how old these other guys are. How old is where's his age? Where's his age? How old is he? I know he ain't that old. He's 28. Okay. Todd France. We know Todd France. He about that paper, baby. Texas, 3-year, 36. They'll put him up there, though. I'm going to read y'all comments to see where you guys would like. See what you guys like to do. Read y'all comments right quick. Past time to move on from him. What's up, Law? Appreciate you from Dallas Peppers. Appreciate you. Can't just flip dudes on the opposite end. That's telling us righty from right. Yeah, right to left. Yeah, shout out to you, Jay Lombardi. Yeah. What about Alacon? I don't know. Who would you rather have in the playoff, Dak or Romo? Macaroni that's a situation that is done. It's over with. I love Romo. The sun done set on Romo's career. Like to have both of them in the playoff. Dak Prescott throwing the ball and Romo calling the game. I choose both. All right, so let's get to the audio portion of this show. I really appreciate everybody that's tuning in. I really do. Let's listen in to Troy. He always gets some good stuff.
It's an infused way of asking it. Just okay. I'm just coming straight through the front door with you. But I think it's an appropriate way to ask is what's missing? What is missing?
Can y'all hear the audio?
Yeah, so that is the $1 million question that I get asked, and I honestly don't know. There was a time where I thought maybe I did know, but I think when you take a year like this, for instance, and they had a great year, and they are as talented as any team in football, and as someone who gets a chance to see a lot of these teams because of the Thursday night schedule and the Sunday package, that I'd put their roster up against anyone's, and they played great. They didn't play as well down the stretch, and then you go into the postseason and you just don't play your best football. But this isn't the first time that's happened. They've been the number one seed in other years and failed to get out of the first round. And so what is keeping it's hard to imagine in a league when you see teams like Cincinnati and like Jacksonville a few years ago and others that you can point to, and yet for the Cowboys for 25 years, they haven't even made it to an NFC championship game. It's hard to believe because when you look at their regular season record over the last 10 or 15 years, they're one of the best in the league as far as their winning percentage. So I don't know. I really don't know, but I do know this. Heartbreaking for that organization and for Jerry Jones to have the team that they had and pretty healthy when they went into the postseason and not to get out of the first round, really defeating. And it makes for a long offseason, makes for another long season in 22, because this is a team, fairly or unfairly, they're going to be judged on what they do in the postseason.
Well, I mean, again.
Man, if Troy is not preaching the gospel right about now, I don't know what you guys are thinking. This dude is preaching, man. For all of those years, for the Cowboys to collectively to be up in the top as relates to teams since 1996 until now, regular season wins, for them not to do anything in the playoffs is very alarming, and that goes all the way to this point right here, Cowboy Nation, that when you get to the playoffs, hear me out, all of that stuff that you did in the regular season, for one, you got to take it out. Number two, everything condenses. It's not about the collections. I hear this all the time, that Brian Broaddus called Kellen Moore the collector of plays. And what the Cowboys do is we try to collect the best talent of players to overcompensate the lack of coaching that we have. Now, granted, Mike McCarthy cannot be placed into that window right now. Hear me out. I think that we get this bad label on us because we went with 9 to close to 10 years with Jason Garrett, and I'm not using him as a punching bag, Cowboy Nation. But it was always a situation whereas let us go get the best wide receivers, right? Oh, we don't have the money, but now we do have the ability to draft it, right? Let us go get the best offensive line. Let us go get, you follow me, on the offensive side, not necessarily on the defense. Offense sells what? Can y'all put down in the chat what offense do? It literally, I'm going to just go ahead and say it, sell tickets. Offense sell tickets, Cowboy Nation. And we've been selling tickets, and we had the ability to win multiple games with the collections of the best said positioning group, the best center in football, the best right guard in football, the best left tackle in football, the best up-and-coming wide receiver in football. And we have not punched it in because we had the worst scheme possible, the worst thought track of coaching. There's no, look, I was going back and forth with a guy on Reddit about Jimmy Johnson versus the coaches that we had present day, until present day now with the Cowboys. And his argument on my Reddit feed, and I wish I could show you the argument, but his argument was, hear me out, Cowboy Nation, that Jimmy Johnson benefited only purely on Jerry Jones' collections of good players. And also with his collections of Jimmy Johnson pretty much lucked into the position of winning those 2 Super Bowls because of the Herschel Walker trade, right? And I had to remind him that no, Jimmy Johnson was a legend before he came to the Cowboys, right? In Miami. Jimmy Johnson's philosophy and scheme had to be implemented and introduced to the NFL. There were literally nobody trading for players before Jimmy got here, right? And on top of that, I had to remind him that, yeah, the Cowboys won the Super Bowl without Jimmy, but those were Jimmy players. And he tried to pivot and say, well, Jimmy destroyed the Miami Dolphins. And then I had to pull out the brick of truth and hit him with it, and he yelped. You know, the dog that get hit with the brick yells. What if I told you, Cowboy Nation, that yes, the Miami Dolphins, Jimmy wasn't successful there, but he took the Miami Dolphins to 3 playoff games. They won 2 playoff games. He had 4 seasons with the Miami Dolphins, and they never had a losing season. They never had a losing season while under the watch of Jimmy Johnson. He had John Taylor. He drafted Zach Thomas. He drafted guys that still made impact in the NFL long after he was gone. I come here to tell y'all, if Jimmy Johnson, and it's crazy because since Jimmy left Miami, I think that they only been into the playoff 1 time, and they haven't won a playoff game since then, I believe. I could be off because I don't really follow Miami like that. But can you guys educate me and let me know what Miami Dolphins been doing since Jimmy Johnson left, by the way? But he was hell-bent that Jerry Jones, without Jerry, Jimmy wouldn't be successful. Without Jerry, it's all Jerry was the reason why. And I said, man, you must be trolling. You must be John Stephen Jones defending your daddy, you know? But I'm going to read what y'all say. Oh, my gosh, man. He was innovative. And I'm telling you guys right now, and I know if was a fifth, we all would be drunk. There's 2 coaches, and hear me out. I know Tom Landry, brilliant, Hall of Fame guy, wonderful man. People worship the ground that he walked on, right? The greatest. I would put him as the greatest Cowboy coach of all time. But under Jerry Jones' watch, there's been only 2 coaches, in my opinion, that's been solid and solidified and granted to be that coach, that dude, without fluff. Jimmy Johnson, hear me out, Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells. Those are the only 2. Everybody else unsullied. And you can go back and forth, talk to me about Dave Campo and all of those other guys, but it's just those 2. Now, the resume is still being written for Mike McCarthy. It's not over with for him yet, right? His first year 6-10, his second year 12-5, but his third year, we got to see some productions on the second level. But that's when all the second level when I'm talking about is playoff. That's when the coach stand in front of the bullet. That's when the coach followed the sword and said, hey, I've been here before, like he said. It's time for me to elevate this thing. Come hell and high water, we going to figure out a way to beat whoever we face in the first round of the playoffs. Look, Twin Empire, new standard set matters. No, Bobby, you can't put Barry Switzer. Now, granted, I'm going to hit this button on anybody who say that
Shame. Shame. Shame.
That's to anybody who stated Barry Switzer is not a good coach. That's just a flat-out shame. I think that he is a good coach. It's different between coaching men and college kids. It's difference, though. That's the difference. But Barry Switzer, he is the last coach to win us a Super Bowl. And by the way, even though that was with Jimmy Johnson guys, at least with Barry Switzer, he won at least 5 playoff games. We haven't won that many playoff games in 2 decades. So we can't be sitting here saying, No. He's a good guy, man. It's just that right now, the Cowboys got to get out of their funk. And, of course, I'm leaning on what Troy said. Hey, they had to win in spite of the coaches. And it was targeted and aimed at, too, the owner, because who empowered the coaches.
And we have Dak coming in here in about an hour, and clearly he had a remarkable season based on the way his previous season ended. But the way the game ended, it just seems like can you point the finger at the coaching staff? Do you think here, or is it something that's unfair to do because circumstances?
Yeah, I think it's unfair. I think that as far as the last play goes, I mean, there's a lot of opinions on that, of course. And I know that Mike McCarthy has defended the decision. And I don't necessarily disagree with the call. But when you run that play, you 100% have to get off another play into the end zone. Mm-hmm. And when that doesn't happen, for whatever reason, if it was the officiating, if it was that Dak went too far or when he ran, it doesn't matter. In that sense, then it was a bad call. And I think you have to just own up to that. If you don't get a shot into the end zone when you're already in a position to take a shot into the end zone. But yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. But I don't blame the coaching. I think that's the easy out. I think that's what people do. But no, I think overall, I think they're a very well coached team, and just didn't happen for them.
Well, I guess in the
wow. All right. Hear me out, Cowboy Nation. Let me pivot a little bit. I ain't moonwalking back from it. But I'm going to have to tell you guys what I really feel about the situation. The doggone game shouldn't have come down to 14 seconds anyhow. We had an opportunity, Cowboy Nation. I think it was 3 minutes left. That's a long time and a lot of time for us to get this win, that W against the 49ers. So if this Cowboys season for the 2022 season is still talking about the last 14 seconds and not going back to the 3-minute mark,
shame. Shame. Shame.
They need to all lean forward. If they using that as a pivot point, if they using that as we lost the game because of the last 14 seconds, bull sugar. You lost the game before you played the game. You guys coming out nervous. You guys coming out timid at your own house. The guys going out the way, putting on pads, practicing, going off of their script, and not staying focused. A coach supposed to be able to get those boys locked in and stay locked in and say, hey, we earned this spot to play a home game, right? We earned this spot to be here. If anybody being nervous right now, it should be the opposing team, not us. Matter of fact, with good coaching and great plan of execution from the players by holding everybody accountable, right now this would be a whole different episode. We'll be talking about the Cowboys versus whoever in the Super Bowl. I digress. Let me play this audio.
Good thing is that everybody's back on the coaching staff, right? That Kellen Moore didn't get a gig, and Dan Quinn was shopping around and then came back. Yeah. And then I don't, you might have missed it while you were making your beer and launching your lager, available in Texas and hopefully everywhere else soon. That there was there you go, right next to you. That there was an article on DallasCowboys.com of Jerry flat out talking about Dan Quinn coming back and he's head coaching material, and Sean Payton was on the staff before, and everybody knew at the time that he could be a head coach, and Jason Garrett, and he's talking about Dan Quinn being head coaching material. And well, what about Mike McCarthy? And his answer was, well, Mike knows that someday he won't be the Dallas Cowboys head coach. And it's just
or does he?
Now I guess he does. Like what's up with that? I mean, that sounds like I don't understand that one. Do you?
Yeah, what we do know is this: that Jerry is really smart. I mean, he's a really smart guy. And so I don't, and at times, as we know, sometimes he'll shoot from the hip. But I think that, in those comments, I think he had time to really reflect and know what he wanted to convey and how he wanted to say it. So for there not to be more support, there had to be a reason behind that. Yeah. Is that to, warm up the seat a little bit and motivate? I don't know, but a little unconventional.
It definitely is.
Hey, man, shout out to you, Peter Rizzo, for the 200 stars on the Facebook. I really appreciate you, Peter. That's a mouthful right there. And look, we will all be foolish to think that Jerry is slow, right? We'll be all foolish to think that, right? We you don't become this billionaire by accident, and we can see these moves being made, right? And one thing I can tell you is using other people's resources to become a multi-billionaire is a brilliant idea, to get the city and the state to pay for a stadium that you can call your own. Man, that's a brilliant idea. Oh my goodness. It's like me wanting to have a dream house, right? And I get you guys to pay for it, right? And I get the keys, I get the access point, and only on Sundays, right, I allow you to come see my house, right? That you pay for, that also you got to pay. And throughout the week, hear me out, I got tours and everything else that is not free. You still got to pay for that to come see it. That's a brilliant, oh my gosh, man. Oh my gosh. Y'all see how brilliant that is? Oh my goodness, man. They say the hardest thing is making your first million. Then after that, you make your million, you can. And I want to know what they say the hardest thing about making your first billion, right? That's a whole different society, whole different club. What we are angry about and upset about, man, they just probably look at it and laugh. They probably laughing, especially with those who think that the NFL and got all of the information that is rigged, right? You can look at it and be like, yeah, man, these billionaires, come on, man. They know how to weather the storm. They know how to pay the certain type of people. Shoot. Why you think that those officials not full time? That make it too hard to hide the money. I can always hide the money when they part time, especially if they put it like this. And I'm not trying to keep my conspiracy law thing going, but I gotta say it. You part time, baby. You go and work at that law firm, no worries. I'm so bold that I can literally name the case. Brown versus third down. This is your check. You know what I'm saying? That's how it goes. Your law firm will receive increments of payments of offensive Brown versus third down penalty payment, for your law firm. I can literally name it that. Nobody would never know. It's X-Files, baby. Gerard. Oh my gosh, man.
And and just see the excitement of everyone around the Super Bowl itself.
Emmitt, how do we get your team back into it? How do we get our team back into the Super Bowl? How do we what do we need to do better?
Oh man, I've said it all season long. You look for a team to grow and mature into who they really are trying to become. And that's the entire staff. That's coaching, that's offense, defense, and special teams. And what we did not see last fall was this team mature into that really growth spurt where they develop this level of consistency that you can count on. We made too many mistakes at the wrong times. We got too many penalties on the football field. We turned the ball over. We were inconsistent in our offensive line play, and which made it very difficult to run the ball, not to mention some of the injuries that we did have. And that's just on the offensive side. So when you start talking about defense, we had guys jumping off sides at the critical times, and then pass interference penalties that was just out of the game. I mean, things like that are things that you want to see eliminated as much as possible to give our team a chance to develop the consistency that they need for a complete season. And I didn't see our team moving in that direction.
I know.
Ooh, for those who don't know, that's Emmitt Smith. No running back in the National Football League got more yards. Say it like me, yards, than Emmitt Smith. Yeah, and he's up there with touchdowns. Can somebody put down his total touchdowns for me? Emmitt Smith, he talked about offensive line play, and he also talked about penalties too, offensive pass interference and stuff like that, the inconsistencies. And I be dogged, and grim. If we talking about maturing, this is the quarterback going into his 7th year, right? Even if it's a situation that we talking about maturing, that should be thrown out the window, right? This is a running back. This is a running back that's going into his 7th year, right? So these guys played National Football League for 6 years. Amari Cooper, I think it's his 5th year, something like that. Bull sugar on the maturity aspect of it and maturing. Bull sugar. I call bull sugar. That's bull sugar. I ain't finna sit here and say, well, we wait the next year. No, this is not a young team. Maybe on paper they're young, but they've been playing football for a long time. Now the reason why you got a Mike McCarthy opposed to letting Kellen Moore be the head coach, because you're supposed to have the maturity level already there. So this is the thing. Shout out to you, Dallas. He says 164. Somebody says 168. This is Lord Nova. 164, a million. Emmitt Smith have 100. Boy, we need that, baby. Ooh, 164 TDs. All right, so the only person that needs to mature is the play caller, right? He's just going into his 4th year now. 3 years of calling plays. But somebody should stand tall and say, hey, this team, we got all of the resources here. No more excuses. Heading into the 2022 season, all of these coaches coach together. If it was a lack of maturity or experience or command, I wouldn't have mind if the head coach stepped up and said, you know what, Kellen, we appreciate you on this experiment, but your offense been high and lows, and now it's time for us to really focus in. For these next few weeks, we're going to have Benjamin McAdoo, who was hired for a reason. I don't care if it was a good old boy network to go along, get along game. But what the, no, I almost cussed. Y'all almost had me. But what the world he's here for? Right? If he was just going to hold the clipboard and not input, right? And now he's gone to Carolina Panthers. So he was just a placeholder to grab a few coins. I know some people right now in the chat would love to have that role to just be added in as a namesake to maybe so you won't have, you know how you, don't y'all know how it goes when you have a job interview and you have gaps on your resume as far as your time frame? So he was just a filler, right? And he was just a placement because he could really lie to kick it to the Carolina and say, hey, Panthers, I advise Kellen Moore. That's why we was the number one total offense. He can really lie to kick it all the way. And when I was really implemented into the helping out with this organization, we were the 4th-ranked rushing team. But what I wanted to do, he can say this literally in the interview. That's probably how he got the OC job. What I wanted to do is to have my skill set, my philosophy to permeate through the team, but I didn't want to overshadow him, so I allowed him after the midway point of the season to do his own thing, and that's why we saw some of the slippage on the offense. But when I was the offensive main guy to coordinate everything, the offense was number 1, the total offense number 4 in rushing. He had his hair slipped back with the comb and everything. They looking around and say, you know what? Ben McAdoo, you're right. And also on your resume, they looking at his resume, they looking at his resume, they say looking at his resume. Also on your resume, we also see that you was the last coach for the New York Giants to take them to the playoffs. And Benjamin was like, yeah, man. You know, they don't call me Mac-a-doodle-doo for no reason. Now, you know, I do the Mac-doodle-doo, you know. You're hired, you know. That's exactly what happened. I'm talking about maturity.
You know, it can be dependent on the back and dependent on the situation, but just in general, how much of the production do you think normally falls on the running back versus the offensive line? Because we've had that argument round and around here about the production of Zeke and Pollard versus the struggles of the offensive line. Like, how do you kind of chop up the blame or credit on that?
Well, first and foremost, I tell people all the time, I like Tony Pollard. They ask me if Tony Pollard should be starting and all those kind of things. In my opinion, I think Tony Pollard is a great back. I don't know if he's an every down back. Zeke is your every down back. And most teams prepare for the number 1 guy. They go in, they break down Zeke's tape every offseason, and they break down offensive line play every offseason. And they're preparing for Zeke every week with the expectation that Tony Pollard is going to get his plays. And he does a great job when he gets in there. But if you had Tony Pollard in there trying to carry the ball 20 times a game, I don't know if he'll last. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but I just don't see that. And I think that's the reason why you see Zeke Elliott as the number 1. They serve as a great 1-2 punch, thunder and lightning, if you ask me, and they're complementary of one another.
Ooh, son. Who's better? Antonio Gibson or Tony Pollard? Who's better? I want to see the chat. And if y'all don't know Antonio Gibson, they went to the same school. Antonio Gibson plays for, I believe, Washington football team. I ain't going to make this an Ezekiel Elliott versus a Tony Pollard. What we can't do, Cowboy Nation, and I know the great Emmitt Smith, I'm not finna debate him. I'm not finna debate the great Emmitt Smith. I'm not finna, because it's a one-sided situation. He can't respond to me because he's already talked to 105.3 The Fan. running backs need, N-E-E-D, to get carries in order to show their level of production and their value worth. Now, Tony going into his contract year, they need to figure out his value worth. I get it. Ezekiel Elliott is the every down back. He said a valuable thing. He said 1-2 punch. But dog it, and I almost cussed again, but dog it, it was more like a 1-1 punch. It wasn't no toe. It wasn't no toe. It wasn't no split back situation. There was no dual back situation. Let me know if the 1-2 punch was giving the attention to Tony Pollard with 4 attempts of touching the ball in the last playoff game. That's the equivalent to buying a Ferrari and just parking it in the driveway and saying, I ain't going to pull that one out. No. I only drive that one on weekends. But, I might start it up, reverse it. I don't want to drive and pull it back in. That's exactly what they did with Tony Pollard. There was no 1-2 punch. There was no split duties. There was not a situation where the opposing teams looked at the Dallas Cowboys and said, hey, let's figure out how to stop Ezekiel Elijah Elliott. Law, do you have any evidence on that? Hell yeah, I got evidence on that. Because nobody in their right mind will say, okay, we're going to have 6 DBs on the field to stop Ezekiel Elliott if they plan to do such. What team said, we want him to run the ball. We got 6 DBs out there, sometimes 7. We beg you to run the ball. We beg you. We dare you. Man, we triple dare you to run the rock. With 6 and 7 deep, go back and watch the tape. Nobody in the box anymore. They say, okay, well, we beg you to run the ball. We dropping our guys deep. We giving you the underneath. And lo and behold, you got one of the most conservative type of quarterbacks that's only going to take what the defense give you anyway. And when the pressure, have you ever noticed? And I love Dak Prescott. I'm not hating on Dak Prescott, by the way. But that's his philosophy. I'm going to take what the defense give me. I'm going to take the underneath. You guys are covering over top. Zeke, there you go, dump off. Law, you have any beat or evidence on that? I can go back to 2000 and let's say 18. I think Ezekiel Elliott had 77 receptions and also was leading running back. I'm going to take what the defense give me. I'm not going to force I ain't going to force die hand. Dan Brown, won't you lean forward just a little bit? It's going to hurt you. Yep. I'm going to take what the defense give you.
So, Emmitt, one of the things about Ezekiel Elliott, the stats say that out of the backfield as a pass receiver, as a guy who catches the ball and makes a play, he struggles at that. You were a guy, I can remember the 92 NFC Championship game in San Francisco, how many great plays you had catching the ball and making yards after the catch. What can a guy like Zeke do this offseason to help himself out to be a better threat out of the backfield as a pass catcher?
Probably create better throwing angles for Dak if he's coming out of the backfield or especially on the swing route. I mean, my routes was pretty simple. I would either primary or or the third or fourth read. It depends on how Zeke has been in the progression of Dak in terms of the reading progression, that is. But for the most part, I think just creating better throwing angles would be helpful. But that's what Tony Pollard should come in for. He should be the third down back that's making those pass routes down the field. He ran those routes. Zeke can do the same thing, but Zeke can use some rest, too, at the same time.
Big facts.
I'm kind of curious, Emmitt. We got Emmitt Smith joining us here on the KNC Masterpiece on 105.
They better know who this is.
But when it comes to Dak, and I mean, we hear, and we've been watching him, we've been observing this, the leadership, the qualities that he has. And I mean, you played with Troy, and we're always told, Michael Irvin will say it every single day, that was Troy's team. And I'm always curious, the comparisons, they're not going to be exactly the same, but what other traits does Dak need to develop or grow into to become, a three-time Super Bowl champion like Troy was?
Well, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
I think he has what it takes to become a Super Bowl champion. I think mentally, he probably needs to pick and choose his moments at critical times when he should take off and utilize his legs versus trying to make the big play all the time or make the one play. I think what he can do is put himself in position to where he can go from 2nd and 10 to 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4. So he can make the downs much more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid to do that. I think when the game is on the line, you have to go back and play backyard football at some point. So don't forget who you are and what you're capable of. Take advantage of every tool that you actually have within your toolbox. Yeah. Your arm is great. Probably a little bit more consistency a little bit there. Maybe the injury may have hampered that a little bit this year. But for the most part, I think Dak has what it takes.
Now, I know the world with social media and everything has changed since then, but Dak gets a lot of flack. Obviously, Romo got a lot of flack. I'm curious if you could take us back in time to the holdout for the first 2 games of the season after the Super Bowl. Did you hear from a lot of people, or were you able to insulate without Twitter and Facebook and all of that?
Man, before you answer, man, the world changed now, man. World changed. You got people that's internet thugs, but when they see you in real life, they fold like a wallet or a lawn chair. You got people that's keyboard warriors, So the world's changed now, man. Now, I know there's nothing new under the sun. He may say, yeah, there was some people that are saying this and that, but life changed, man. It empowered people to embellish things that they are not, to become things that they want to be, but in real life they're not, So the world changed, and it's just so convoluted. But let's listen to what he had to say.
First and foremost, I got to recharacterize the way you described it.
Oh, my bad.
He didn't help.
Yeah, I didn't hold out. I was negotiating.
Okay, fair enough. Fair. It worked.
I didn't have a contract, so I was in the middle of negotiations. So I wasn't holding out because I didn't have a contract. Holdouts are guys that have contracts and refuse to come to work.
We have a segment later called Forgiveness Friday. I'll put myself in that for. We'll get it right.
So, but for the most part, no, I didn't get a lot of flack. But when we started losing, people were getting upset, and they were probably mad at me for not being there. But I even got death threats, to be honest with you.
Oh man.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had death threats until we were playing New Orleans one night, and I was walking off the field, and I had about 5 or 6 security people around me, and I never understood why. And later on, I said, what's going on? And one of the FBI guys came up to me and whispered in my ear. I said, why are all these folks around me like this? He said, well, Mr. Smith, we received some information about someone threatening your life. I said, really? Yeah, I was shocked.
Well, let's talk about. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's my experience, but I didn't know it, and thank goodness the NFL is very good about protecting its players and so forth. But I think sometimes people get overzealous about some of the things that they want to see versus what they are seeing, and so it is what it is.
Emmitt, the other day, Jimmy Johnson talked about Jerry Jones. I don't know if you saw the interview or not, but what are your thoughts when Jimmy kind of takes shots at Jerry as the leader of the Dallas Cowboys organization?
Tread lightly, Emmitt.
Well, I didn't see the interview. Let's make that clear. So I'm not sure exactly what was stated. But Jimmy's in a position to where he has to speak his mind and be truthful about what he's speaking. He has the integrity of a head coach. He has the integrity of playing and coaching the Dallas Cowboys and the interaction between him and Jerry. We know their history. So I think Jimmy has been very fair. I think he would be fair. I don't think he's going to do it just to be doing it. And I think sometimes positive criticism can be good, can be handled in the right direction. I mean, we all need to evaluate ourselves and what we're doing to either help a situation or hurt a situation.
Emmitt, the Wooly Bully Zach Wolchuk from our evening show texted me yesterday and said he wanted me to tell you that you're his hero and he loves you. A, do you love him too? And B, what was that moment that you realized just how much you actually, you meant to other people outside of your circle? Was it that New Orleans moment, or was there another time where you were like, oh man, I can make a huge difference being a Cowboy?
Yes. Let me answer the first part. I love him more. Put it that way.
You just made his day.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. I mean, just to be loved, period, is a wonderful thing. People are looking for love anyway.
For sure.
People are looking to be accepted. And so, and I'm no different. I mean, I try to do the best I can what I have to work with and try to impact people's lives in the most positive way that I possibly can. And so I think for me, when you have a kid or a grown person or a grandmother point to you as a person of influence and a person of positive standard, that's meaningful. And it goes to show that you never know who's watching or who's looking.
Right.
And trying to do what is right all the time can be hard. And sometimes people catch you at the best moments, and sometimes they don't always catch you at the best moments. But you try to be polite and gentle in terms of how you let people down. People don't want to be let down. Mm-mm. People don't want to be told no. Sometimes no is the best answer. And I try to keep that in balance and keep that in perspective, but also try to honor people's requests. The requests, they come, and they keep coming, and they keep coming. And so for me, I've developed this calluses in my personality to just try to accommodate as much as I possibly can. And when it's time to shut it off, it's time to shut it off because I have to be a human as well.
No is the best vitamin out there, man. It shapes and shifts you into the right directions. Especially, I recall when I was a door-to-door salesman, B2B, and for the whole state of Mississippi, 82 counties, going door-to-door. Printer fax copying machine, and I had to know my vitamin, knowing that every no, I'm getting closer to my yes, and going door-to-door, prospecting and doing your homework, and then you figuring out better ways to get beyond the gatekeeper is a unique one. And to this day, that vitamin, that no vitamin, man, it improved and it helped me out as it relates to life in general. Now, I think I saw somebody said self-evaluation is a major point. Yeah, I do agree. Always self-evaluate. Going back, doing an inventory of yourself. That is a major thing, not a minor thing. And a lot of people need to become more self-evaluators too, and honest self-evaluators. You know what you got to do.
Now, we're going to talk about the tequila venture and National Margarita Day coming up. I also want to know about your NASCAR and Xfinity series. But before we get to any of that, I was curious. We all celebrate Super Bowl 27 and obviously 28 and 30 as well as being one of the most fun times we ever had watching football. I was curious for you, what was the best game you were ever in terms of you didn't know if y'all were going to win, but it was a hell of a game one way or another?
Probably the NFC Championship game against the 49ers the very first time was a very thrilling game. The game against the Giants in New York, January 2nd, was a game where we didn't know what was going to happen. Had to kick a field goal with Murray making the field goal in overtime to win that one to secure home field advantage and all. Those were two awesome games to be in. And plus the Thanksgiving Day game against the Packers, I believe. We had to come from behind. Jason Garrett was our quarterback at the time. Those were great games to play in. They were exciting games. They were games where anxiety is running high, but you executing and making plays.
Talk with Emmitt Smith right here on 105.3 The Fan. I know y'all didn't necessarily play alongside one another, but you're part of the Cowboys fraternity. How the hell did DeMarcus Ware not get into the Hall of Fame last night?
That makes sense.
Yeah, say that.
Yeah, a lot of things don't make sense. And I tell you, I think the Hall may have been trying to make up for guys that probably should have been in the Hall a long time ago. And they smited some of the players that probably are well-deserving right now. The question has become, beyond DeMarcus Ware, how about Devin Hester? This kid has the most return touchdowns, everything in the history. We're talking about history of the game. The most. And he doesn't get in. That right there, my friend, is a complete debacle. And that's a clear illustration of
political
politics, if you will, at its worst.
Yeah.
And not honoring the integrity of the game.
Woo, baby. So many people miss the meat worrying about the potatoes. But it goes a long way, man. And I know eventually Hester will get in. Eventually DeMarcus Ware will get in. But when you look, politics poison so many things as it relates to just life. Because people, even with what's going on with this world now, people forget about natural science. And they weigh heavy on political science. The political science of the matter trumps everything because it's pretty much what they say goes, regardless of health, wealth, possibilities of what these politicians like to do. They come out there, they go vacation in Florida, right? And they go back to their home state and they create so much chaos. They even go to the lines of doing this versus that. And I come here to tell you, over a third of you guys, I can say this truthfully, will not understand it. Not understand it until it's too late. And that is a major problem, not a minor problem, as it relates to all of this, Cowboy Nation. And on top of that, Cowboy Nation, the problem is with political science. It sullies and it denigrates those who, Vidal, worked hard to get to where they at. It probably meant the world for DeMarcus Ware to be first ballot Hall of Fame. But due to the political pressure and adding in somebody else because of the wrongdoings of something else, sullies his particular feelings and emotions and all of his hard work and dedications. The man playing with a pinched nerve on his neck. Paul said, yeah, he actually said the political side. Yeah. So when I kid you not, I made a statement about, heading into the playoffs. Wow, lo and behold, now we don't see that many C-19 cases, right? We don't see that many C-19 cases. And I'm not sitting here saying that I want players to get the C-19. But now, since we are according to the political pressure, now we turn toward midterms or what have you. The cure for C-19 is here. Nobody's catching it. And some well-educated person said, well, they changed the guidelines. So you mean to tell me that the guidelines can also cure it? Because now we're in the playoffs, the Pro Bowls, the Super Bowl, and we don't see these cases. Oh, so you mean to tell me that all the NFL had to do is change the guidelines? But we know it's bigger than that. The political pressure, the selling of everything is being sold to you instead of you being able to earn it.
Where it should be honored.
I'm really glad that you said that about Devin Hester. That has been an ongoing argument on this show. Now, this feels like it can't be real, but you're participating in National Margarita Day, which is on February 22nd, which is 2/22/22. Did they adjust that just for you?
You know, it's amazing how the stars just line up, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think that they intentionally did that for me, but you know what? I will take it.
Yeah. Take the credit for that one every time.
And so
Take
on
credit.
on 2/22/22 this month, I'm gonna have me a margarita for sure, and I'm gonna put that Ocho Añejo in it.
Ocho who?
That Hedador Ocho Añejo, baby. It's gonna be good.
So good.
So
And
I
Give
don't know
me a
about that.
32-ounce bottle or a glass and fill it up and sit back on my sofa and enjoy the moment. And I'm gonna take pictures of it.
Okay.
And also coming up really soon, I know I know you've been in the NASCAR scene, but are y'all going full time on the Xfinity series with your team this year?
Xfinity.
Yes, we are. We start in Daytona next week, next Saturday.
How did you get into this to begin with? And it sounds like you're going to be really busy like the next 2 weeks.
Are you guys not aware that my driver, Jesse Iwuji, is from Carrollton, Texas?
Ooh. I guess not.
Yeah, he's from Carrollton, Texas.
Carrollton.
And he's a Naval Academy grad. He
Connor
served in the
Williams from
military
Carrollton.
for over 7 years. He's still serving right now in the reserves. He played football. His favorite football player was yours truly.
Emmitt
He
Smith.
wore 22 in high school, 22, I believe, at the academy. And when he raced a couple years ago at Texas Motor Speedway, one of my companies, Notable Live, sponsored his car. And he drove in that race for the first time on the track. So since that time frame, he approached me about joining this team and becoming part owner with his race team. And I obliged, and I'm trying to help him grow, help him become successful, chasing after his dreams, while NASCAR has created opportunity for minorities to come in and own their own teams. And so I'm excited about his future. I'm excited about the opportunity to work with NASCAR as well.
And that's great stuff. And Emmitt, before we let you go, I know Kevin asked about DeMarcus Ware.
We got to fix that other one.
We've been pushing for Darren Woodson to be. We've been trying to trumpet this campaign for a long time. Do you want to put out some words?
I post the link for this episode so you can hear it. It's like 18, 20 minutes long. Be sure to click on that link to listen to the full episode without me pausing and rewinding. Let me see what his comments on D.
Words for Darren Woodson to be in the Hall of Fame too.
There's no doubt. I mean, the Cowboys has been smiting for a long time. They need to lift the ban on the Dallas Cowboys and let some of the great ones in. I mean, period. I mean, Darren Woodson, DeMarcus Ware, these are proven, tremendous football players. And their stats, what they meant to their teams, and what they've done in their careers is noteworthy of being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that was the end of that. Appreciate everybody for tuning in for this episode. It was wonderful. Stay tuned. We may be live a little later on. Super Bowl parties, y'all know how it goes. I hope you got your libations together. And if you got to drive, make sure that you have someone to take you there and take you back, and make sure that they ain't drinking and driving too. Just make sure you secure all bases, man. True story. One time, me and my cousin TJ, he was at Jackson State at the time, but he flew around, transferred to Mississippi State. So we would drive back and forth from Jackson State to Mississippi State. And I said, man, we came from a party. I said, Lord behold, I'm sleeping on the passenger seat. I looked over. I wake up. Someone just told me to wake up. I'm looking over. He sleep. I said, who is driving the wheel? Oh, my goodness, I'm glad I can laugh about it now. But, man, we did some foolish things growing up. But I said, man, it had to be the Holy Ghost driving the wheel because we was in the straight line. I said, TJ, wake up, man. He said, what up, man? I'm not asleep. I said, bull sugar, bull sugar, you sleep, man. Boy, we had a good time going all the way up there to Mississippi State, coming all the way back to Jackson State. But y'all be responsible, man. Not everybody's spared with grace and mercy, man. It could have been a whole nother story. It could have been, you guys wouldn't have been listening to Law Nation. You've been listening to somebody else right now. But somebody was driving that day. And it sure wasn't me because I was on the passenger side, and it sure wasn't him because he was late. He was sleeping. I had to look, literally, I woke up, man, and he had the Honda, he had the old school Honda Accord. We had the Honda gang going on. And I was sitting there like, man, what the world is going on, man? I looked at him for a quick second, too. It had to be literally he was gone, sleeping, snoring gone, dog, So, hey, man, this world is crazy. This world is crazy. Not everybody's blessed to be favored. But I'm going to tell you guys, man, be cautious out there, man. Have a good time. Although our team is not in the Super Bowl, just think of all of the passion and the storylines of what's going to come out to the team that's going to win today. There's going to be somebody lifting up that Lombardi trophy, regardless. And don't beat yourself up because there will be 30 teams. This is not 32 teams in the NFL. There will be 31 other teams mad, 31 other teams angry and upset that their team didn't win the Super Bowl. And there will be some drama for your mama too, also. And that happened many of years ago, by the way, with me and my cousin TJ. Many of years ago. I didn't even have all of this hair on my face like I have right now. But neither here nor there. Cowboy Nation, don't beat yourself up because there will be 31 other teams angry and upset, mad at the world that their team didn't win the Super Bowl. There'll be 31 other teams yelling, it's rigged, baby, it's rigged. See, I told you, it's only one person that's going to lift that Lombardi trophy up. On top of that, that's when football becomes fun again because now we can give the Super Bowl winner their flowers, and then we can start talking about free agency, draft, and who will be the next Micah Parsons for the Cowboys. I really believe that, we're going to find a good drafted player this year, and I just have it in my heart that this person, whoever we draft in the first round, is going to be remarkable, man. Max says 27 long years, baby. Yeah, it's been a long – look, this is our annual – it's the 27th annual, year in the making. But think about this, too. It's been 31 years for the Cincinnati Bengals, right? And I truly believe that there's a diehard Bengal Illmatic fan, a diehard Bengal Max Statton, a diehard Jay Lombardi with the party Bengal fan, out there somewhere. And I've been waiting for 31 years. And I never put on another team jersey. I never folded up like a wallet or a lawn chair. Can you imagine being that person? So when it's our time, let them shine. What y'all don't supposed to do, I'm just talking to y'all like a real one. Y'all don't supposed to jump ship. Y'all don't supposed to be like, since they winning, let me jump over there, No. You don't supposed to do that now. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Let them enjoy their moment. They waited for 31 years. Don't you be sitting up there saying, all right, let me go jump ship. Let me go jump and root for the Cincinnati. Or it's been multiple years. I don't know the Rams, they won the Super Bowl recently, I think in the year 2000 or something like that, 2099, I think 99 Rams or what have you. But don't jump over there to the Rams, We stand firm where we believe, and we stand tight where we at. Although we just got to give the moment to the Rams, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Let them have their moment, right? And we just gonna sit back. Our moment is coming. Let's just hope that it won't be 31 years, right? It's 27 years now. Let's see if we can beat that number, right? Before we get back to the Super Bowl, basically. Cowboy Nation, y'all know what I'm saying, right? Because I don't think, do the Bengals have a Super Bowl? Do they have a ring? But who's counting, right? Do they have one? If not, if they do, then shout out to them. They're going to have one today, huh? If not, it is what it is. No, they don't have one, so let them get one, It's all about marketing anyway, right, Cowboy Nation? We don't care, right? Yabber, yeah. We focusing in. Look, I'm still got my if you still wearing your silver and blue on today, let me know in the chat. I ain't folding up like a wallet or a lawn chair. I'll be 40, it'll be 40 years. Oh no, JL. But I'm waiting. My beard will be gray by the 40th year. And I'll still be saying, go Cowboys. Somebody said Jerry will still be alive. Talking about it. I don't like your attitude.
I want me some glory hole.
Yeah, Jerry. 40 years from now, Jerry still might be around here. Who knows? The way technology is nowadays in the metaverse, he can download his brain onto the server. Y'all thought I was gone. I'm still here. Go Cowboys. You know how he do that thing. Go Cowboys. But silver and blue, we stay true. We ain't going nowhere. We fighting all the way to the end. Even if we out of the tournament, we still here. I don't care if it take 100 years. I tell you what, I won't be a Cincinnati fan, nor a Ram fan. I'll still be the Cowboy fan. 100 years from now. 200 years from now. Even in the heavens, I'll be looking down upon this team. And look at the Cowboys. Tom Landry, I knew you would have called a better play than that, right? Me and my boys. I've been like Tupac when he said he made it to Thug Mansion, baby. Give me Cowboys, Thug Mansion, baby. Billy Holiday said, sitting there kicking it with Malcolm to the day camp. And literally, I was show. Ron told the lady at the liquor store she's forgiven. Come home, huh? I ain't folding up like a wallet. No, I ain't going nowhere. Let's go, Cowboy Nation. One way or another, that's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Even if y'all say reincarnation for the nation is alive, Law Nation will be reincarnated around this world. I'm like, look, that dude, he's the Chinese version of Law Nation, whatever our comeback is, you know what I'm saying? I'll be still rooting for the Cowboys out of the womb, baby. That's how it be, Still have the beard and all. You just be the Chinese version of me. Or the Mexican version of Law. Can you imagine?
Nowadays, nothing really is ice. Only one to have nobody take my phone ringing and I tell them it's ice. I got wifey on bling and she ice. Freeze. Photo.
Or the Caucasian, the persuasion, the white version of Law,
No photos.
Come on.
Hit the door and the dome just whole team here, might need some. Still young, but I move like a new deal to my lawyer. If you're down in my management, I'm just warming up, wait till I old producers saw the numbers one. Different colors in my baggy light. Chalk it up, talk of the town where you're talking up. Wanna get you a ring and you tough enough. Wanna get you new things in your pockets though. Run it up. I used to be quiet and add a love. Now I move up and move humble cause the hate and the jealousy. My mama telling me count up your blessings and run it up. Nowadays nothing really is ice. Only one of me and nobody like me. Phone ringing and I tell him it's ice. I got wifey on bling and she ice. Freeze. Photo. Please. No photos. No. Jeez. No. Please. No photos. I keep giving game away. I put game on name away. I got paid to play today. I get paid to stay away. lane, finger roll. I would never sell my only soul. Heard your whole team was for sale. Heard it's on the market for the low. Who the realest, we might never know. All this acting, you gon' play a role. Give you the world when they sign you up. Try you out and then they line you up.
Jamaican law.
Now you're looking hungry, ribs are touching, need some food. Now you're all on live acting surprised, but you was fooled. Boy, get out the way, it's been a day, now you're old news. Now you got the pen and pad, you're trying to take my moves. Nowadays, nothing really excites me. Only one of me and nobody's like me. Phone ringing and I tell him it's ice. I got wifey on, bling and she freeze. Photo, please, no photos. G's, no, please, no photos. Nowadays, nothing really excites me. Only one of me and nobody's like me. Phone ringing and I tell him it's ice. I got wifey on, bling and she freeze. Photo.
Come back, Clarence Thomas Law. Yeah. Still be going Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Yeah. Baby. I would definitely do that. Come on. Hey. Yo. Come on. Hey. Slow it down for everyone. 1738. Keep it straight for your mind. It's from Jose. Let's go. What the Alizé? They here to say. Right. Yep.
Take a drag of my cigarette. Breathe me out. Breathe you in. Yeah. Take a bite of my burger, babe. Save the last bite for you. For you. Ooh. Don't let the street lights hit you all alone. You know it's dangerous to go alone.
Shout out to JL Lighton.
Don't let the street lights hit you. Can I be your player too?
Clifford. Appreciate you for the 530 stars.
Wherever you go, whatever you do, player too.
JD from DC. Man, you've been a member for 27 months. Now that's rolling with the nation, baby. 27 months? Come on, man. Hey, my daughter's not even 27 months old. Go a long way, man.
7 wonders all in one. All in one. Don't let the street lights hit you.
That's the love right there, baby. And
You know it's dangerous to go alone.
appreciate you.
Don't let the street lights hit you. Can I be your player too? I'll follow wherever you go.
Come on.
Whatever you do.
Shout out to you, Lisa. Shout out to you, Neil, for subscribing.
If a paper crane can fly,
Mark Music.
then forever doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a paper crane can fly, then forever doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a paper crane can fly, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on.
Remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's go, nation.
Yeah, I just wanna run it up. Count a check or something. I've been really in the field, let up. Yeah, I've been really in the field, let her rush, I let her feel. Lately, I just wanna run it up. Don't need no deals, I make the deal. Have to take it to a meal. Lately, I just wanna run it up. Yeah, count a check or something. Lately, I just wanna run it up. Count that too, count it up, count it up, count it up, count it up. Lately, I just wanna run it up. Need them ones, I need them fives, need them tens, I need that change to the safe, got blues inside. Greens and pinks, it's all the same. I still save and roll my chain.